Hey everybody, this is Jen. Welcome to the homestead. It has been a long time coming, but we are back. I have a brand new garden video full of lots of surprises and changes. So follow me along right here on Garden Jen's Journey. All right, so welcome back to the homestead, and if you're new, welcome to my channel where we do all sorts of stuff here on the homestead, including some health videos, some harvesting videos, winter sowing videos, all sorts of videos of my journey here on the homestead. Well, today we're getting close to a brand new month. We got about 5 or so days until July, and so much has happened within the last month and then within just the last week, and I'm finally able to share those with you. So I'm going to take you for a wonderful walk. It's early here in the morning. It's supposed to get up to a 90 today, so I'm going to take you for a walk around the homestead, and then I've got to get planting. But let's see what's going on. Alright, so this is my container bed area where I have my raised garden container beds. And what you're seeing right in front of me is a wonderful field, as I call it, of chamomile. This is chamomile that has self-seeded year after year, and it can become invasive if you don't want it there. But not necessarily, because it is easy to pull out of the ground. You just have to be meticulous about it. It's not quite like mint, where if you don't get it all, it comes back. But anyways, this is just a wonderful sight. I've been harvesting about every other day. I come through and I harvest about half of these flowers and dry them. I leave the other half out for the pollinators and stuff. But yeah, this is just a wonderful field of chamomile, and then of course I have some plantain. I can't remember if that's a wild edible or not. There are some like weeds growing in here, but I kind of leave this alone for the most part and let it just be a wild thing. It's kind of neat, just to let nature do its thing in areas that you don't mind, and I don't mind, you know, as long as we don't have ticks around here. And my chickens are pretty good about keeping them away from the homestead. You know, I can let this be a little wild, and it's kind of cool. So our container beds are doing wonderful. I don't know if I was able to show you when I planted them or not. But this is what I have going on right now. I have some lovely kale going on, and some carrots. These were all winter sown, and then I transplanted them into these beds about a month ago, and then they're really starting to take off, really looking good. And then same here, all these items were winter sown and then transplanted. So I have some arugula, got a lettuce blend, and then onions back there. And then over here I have some cosmos, some more kale, carrots, and cucumbers back there. And of course I have a cat wanting to be getting some attention. And then we did something new this year, because I'm not planting in my what was my Maiden garden area. And so I needed a place to put trellises to try to grow some vining crops. And so we put these trellises in right over my container beds. And then it's kind of hard to see because my lettuces are long, but we'll come over here to where the onions are and see the beans. I have beans planted all along the back here, so they'll grow up this side. And then over here I have my cucumbers, and there's onions in here as well. But I have cucumbers on the back, so they'll grow up here. And I also have watermelon. It's kind of hard to see because the watermelon's still kind of small right now. But yeah, so watermelon and cukes will grow up this side, and then beans up the other. And yes, this is a wild mess back here. I'll probably have my son weed whip it for me. But in all this grass, there's spearmint here. And then over there, you can't see it because the grass is getting really long back here, is chocolate mint. This is where my mints used to grow. And then the pasture grass stayed out. But as you can see, the pasture grass has come in. So we have to take care of that. But I'm not in a rush right now. I have more important things to do. So let's head on over to the other areas of our garden spaces. Alright, so this is one of the garden spaces I started last year. And it's still a work in progress. I had dreamed of doing a pyramid style garden here. It was going to be three tiers of a pyramid, a terrace style garden, but unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that type of garden did not materialize. We just went ahead and did a flat garden. We just couldn't get the material to build the pyramids, and so we just worked with what we had, which was the ground. And so we've got some interesting things going on here. I had planted a couple years after I moved here. I had planted some lilacs and a quince in front, and they're taking forever to grow. Sometimes your shrubs do, especially if you have really poor, rocky, or like we do. It has tons of iron in it, so that iron tends to stunt growth a little bit, because it ties up the nutrients more. But they're getting bigger, finally. But anyways, I wanted something else to go here in this space, because it kind of was like a wasted space. And I wanted to make it where it was nice to look at from the road, and also be good for the pollinators. So we eventually got this space done. And so this is what it's looking like right now. I've got a hosta here, and then my coneflowers have come back, which is good. Like I said, I just started this last year, so getting perennials established takes time. But look at how big that coneflower plant is. It's doing very well. Then sedums. Sedums do pretty good if you give them the right spot. This thing has actually doubled in size from last year. And then I have another coneflower over here. That one's a little bit smaller. This one, I believe, is my green twister coneflower. So I'll wait and see, because I'm really looking forward to having that really interesting color. So hoping that that's my green twister, and when it blooms, we'll all see if that's what I think it is. And then along the back here, where the lattice is I have some hollyhocks that I got through a seed swap. These are some really pretty hollyhocks, or they're supposed to be. We'll see when they flower. But I have some creams, and then I think one's like a lavender, and I think the one's a yellow. Again, I could be wrong. The labels got lost because my chickens dig the crap out of this when they're tilling it and fertilizing it for me. So my labels get lost a lot. So the reason we have the lattice here is it's kind of a trellis thing for the hollyhocks to lean up against, and I have to secure it a little better. We get really, really intense west winds. I mean, if I pan over here, you see there's hardly too much of a windbreak. We got a little windbreak, but go on this side of the trees here. The next windbreak is 2 miles up. This is all open field here. And so we get lots of harsh westerly winds. And as you have tall plants, they don't like really hard winds. They tend to fall over. So that's why we have the lattice here, to give them some support. Okay, so enough about this bed. We have lots more to show. So are you ready for a surprise? This spot where I'm standing right now is the entrance to my Maiden garden area, the garden area I've had for over 7 years here. And this year is its sabbatical year. It's the year that we're not planting any annuals or any vegetables or anything else in the ground than what's already here. Let me show you what it's looking like right now. Ready? All right. So you can see it's not a barren wasteland or something like that right now, even though we haven't planted anything in it. It's looking pretty cool. So here's my rose beds, and I've got to deadhead my roses here, but my roses are doing good. But I want to show you here what one of the benefits of letting your garden rest for a year is you can let the natural plants that would normally be considered weeds or whatever grow in your garden, as long as you know what kind of weed they are and how to take care of them. And they will grow, they'll produce flowers that attract the bees and butterflies and things and keep them around. And eventually, you know, once they die, you can till them back into your ground, and they add nutrients back into the ground for your next planting season. We live in Michigan, and one of the things that we have here is the Monarch Butterfly. This is where it comes up to, and then it goes back south later in the season. But it's very, very crucial here in Michigan that we have the milkweed plant. The milkweed is where the Monarch Butterfly lays their eggs. Their eggs grow into the caterpillars that you will see, and then eventually those caterpillars go into a cocoon stage, and then they will hatch. They do this all on the milkweed. Without the milkweed, there's no monarch butterflies. So this year, since I'm not really planting in my garden, and milkweeds are just natural in this area, I just let them grow. You know, I've always let some grow in my garden, but I have to be able to plant too. So, you know, it's finding that balancing act of allowing native species that need to be around for your ecosystem and being able to plant among them. So with my garden area here being on the sabbatical, we've just allowed the milkweed to grow wherever it's growing, as long as it's not in a path or whatever. Because we still walk up and down here, and you know, we'd just be knocking them over anyway. So we have that growing in abundance here. Lots and lots of milkweed. So the monarch butterflies should be very happy here this year, I hope. Another thing that we have let grown, and I'll decide what to do with it later, is we have wild grapes. Now these bad boys can be bad boys. Wild grapes can be very invasive, so generally people will pull them up and burn them if they don't want them. But I have plenty of trellis space, kind of, if you see here. And so right now, I'm just letting it grow. I mean, who doesn't want some free grapes? And depending on what kind of wild grapes these are, they actually make excellent grape juice. So again, we're just letting the natural plants of the ecosystem grow where they're growing, and then anything we don't want, or you know, that would be a problem, we will take care of at the end of the year. Any highly invasive plants, like we have the deadly nightshade, we have, let's see if I can show you. Yes, I got some here. This stuff here, it's kind of like a morning glory. I can't remember what it's called. But these vine things are highly invasive. And then there's another plant. I took some weed killer too. But I guess I didn't kill it all. This here, it's really pretty when it puts out its flowers, and the bees love them. This plant here is highly invasive. And so after it's done flowering, because with the flowers here, I want to leave it here for the bees. But once it's starting to die back, it is going to get yanked out of here, because you do not want that spreading. But other than that, we just let the ground be. Now, one of the things we did is, because I didn't have a garden space to plant in, is I used this garden space here to put my containers my pots and stuff in, because this area is enclosed. There's a fence that goes all the way around it, and so I can keep my chickens out of it. That way I can actually grow some crops and the chickens won't eat them. So I have some pots set up on pellets. That way the ground underneath can still breathe and you know, get that kind of air and stuff it needs. And also the pots drain much better, especially these huge pots of potatoes. I want to make sure that they drain pretty good. So they're sitting up on some pallet platforms. So yeah, I have tons of potatoes. One of the things I also wanted to show you is in my garden, I have a couple of these things. And those are some pollinator water bowls. That's for the pollinators can sit on the rocks and on the little sticks in there, and they can actually get something to drink without drowning. So I have plenty of those there. Then my perennial medicinal herb bed is really filling in. Again, I got some more pots. My seedlings for the farmer's market. More pots. You can see all the mint back there. I got some marshmallow, and of course I've got the pasture grass coming in, which I'll take care of later on in the year. And all that milkweed. Alright. My asparagus bed is doing very, very well. I have quite a few asparagus that came up. Look at these beautiful fronds. And I've let them grow and seed, and so this should fill up with quite a few asparagus as time goes on. So I'm really excited about that. I see we have some baby asparagus down there. Let's see if I can zoom in so you can see them. See all the baby asparagus? I did not plant those. They came from just letting the asparagus do what the asparagus does. Alright. So here's another area that I've kind of just let do what it wants this year. Now there's some deadly nightshade right there. Let me see if I can zoom in. I'm going the wrong way. See that vine there with the beautiful purple flowers? That is the deadly nightshade, and it grows everywhere here. I'll show you another spot later so you can really see what it looks like. Beautiful plant, highly toxic. Yeah. So this here is some elderberries mixed in with my Chicago hardy fig here. And it's kind of funny. The elderberry here that's kind of growing in this fence actually came from the bushes that is behind it. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I have some elderberry bushes, some big elderberry bushes. They've kind of died back, and then their shoots have wandered, and so I have elderberries growing in the fence here. But I'm leaving these alone. They're providing wonderful shade here. I'm kind of giving an ecosystem. The birds love them. So again, I'm just letting it be. When they're coming into my garden, like I have some young shoots here right in the garden. There's that one there. And I did see another one. I'm not sure where it's at, but these ones I will pull out because I don't actually want the elderberry coming into the garden, because they can be invasive as well. They can take over. But, you know, as long as you take care to pull out the shoots, gift them to a friend or something like that, they're not too bad. You just have to be mindful of where they're growing. So amongst our travels along the property, we tend to find some really interesting freebies that we weren't expecting. This maple tree is one of them. It was just growing underneath some crates that we have on the homestead where we store things, and we're not sure how we got a maple tree. But I pulled it out and transplanted it in this pot, and we'll be putting the maple tree somewhere on the homestead later in the fall when it's a little bit cooler. The rule of thumb around here is you do not plant trees or shrubs in any months that don't have R in them. And if you think about that, the months that summer is the hottest don't have R. So we won't be planting this until at least September, which is our first R month after the summer. All right. You see, I still have some winter sown containers that I'm still transplanting out of. I'll actually be doing that a little bit later, and I'm going to be showing you where I'm going to be putting these brand new crops. But I wanted to show you that, yes, even in almost July, I still have winter sown jugs here that I am working out of. I have quite a few over here still. Not as much because I'm starting to get them transplanted into my garden spaces, my containers and things like that. But yeah, I still use winter sowing way into the middle of the summer. And I actually also winter sow a little bit later, probably about another month or two. I use the winter sowing technique to start my fall crops. And there is a video I did on winter sowing for fall crops. I'll make sure to link it up above so you can find that video. Again, we're doing lots of putting plants in containers, so I'm not putting them into the ground. One of the things I wanted to make sure I did is get hanging baskets. Hanging baskets are an excellent way to have flowers and things for your pollinator friends. The hummingbirds love this particular basket right here. It was the first one I got. And I was sitting here in this chair. I sit here in the chair either in the morning or later in the evening when it's not so hot. And I've had a hummingbird just go crazy over this when I'm sitting in the chair. She was a beautiful young ruby throated hummingbird. Just a beautiful thing. So yeah, they really love this particular plant. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I buy it at the farmer's market from a gentleman. And yeah, it looks like impatiens, but it's not. It's just really, really cool. Anyway, I have some potatoes down there and some sunflowers that I didn't plant. They just grew there, so I left them alone. And some peppers. Got some herbs going on there, some strawberries and some more tomatoes. Got the marshmallows going. This is my Canna Lily that I overwintered. It's looking rough because the wind just beats the dickens out of it. Like I said, we get really strong westerly winds here. And so if it's not in a protected area, because it is a tall plant, the winds just beat the dickens out of it. Chinese wallflower. This is the first time I'm growing this. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what they look like in person. They look really, really cool on the website, but I want to see what they look like in person. This is the raspberry patch I planted last year. Look at how well it is doing. And yes, in case you're wondering, raspberries can become invasive. You know, once you plant them, you're hardly going to be able to get rid of them unless you dig out the soil pretty good. And as you can see, they're spreading out here. But again, you know, if you just put some effort into it, you can dig them out. You know, it's just being persistent with controlling where you want them. And I have a couple different varieties in here. I have the ones that grow on these really, really thick stalks. And then I got some that are on the thinner stalks here. And I got these from a friend, so it's not like I can tell you exactly what they are. And we got them before they were in fruition. So we'll have to just see what they are once they produce. And then of course my hops. This is a hops vine. This is one plant. And you can just see how huge this gets. When they grow hops for like a brewery or something, usually they grow them up a single wire and then over a head wire. That's about, I think they grow them 20 or 10 feet up and then the wire would go overhead for like 20 feet, because these things are just huge. And I can't really show you because of where I'm standing. But if you can kind of see how far the vines are coming off the plant on this side, there's vines going off the other side. They're almost 6 feet long. So yeah, hops just grows exponentially. The vines on it are just wow. So that's one thing to take in consideration if you ever decide to grow hops, is they need a lot of growing space for their vines. And actually, I did not know this. I thought it was a typo when I was researching hops. But the vines are spelled with a B. It's vines. So these are called vines, the way that they grow. And it's just really, really interesting. Very low maintenance, really. You just plant it and just let it do its thing. I have tried pruning it because I wanted to keep how many vines I had actually growing to about 3. So I've tried pruning it down here, but it does whatever it does. And so it's just like, okay, I'm just going to let it be. And when I harvest the hops later this summer, I'm going to have a lot of them, I guess, which is a good thing, because I use them in my herbal teas and things, for sleep aid and for relaxation and things like that. So that'll be a good thing. Alright, so teaser, I'm not going to show you our brand new spot just yet, because I did want to show you again the invasive weeds that we deal with. So here's that vine thing that I was showing you earlier. It's kind of like a morning glory. Morning glories can become invasive too, just because of the way that they spread. But yeah, that's actually highly invasive. And then over here, try not to get you in the morning sun. Here's some more of that other plant I showed you in my garden with the beautiful purple flowers. And then this is the deadly nightshade. So all these are highly invasive plants. And you can see just how easily they overtake a space. This is all against the chicken run here and the pasture land. So it's kind of hard for me to get this out of here because it's all entangled in the fence, and yeah, it's a nightmare. But just want to show you what they look like, so if you see them on your property, you can try to get them removed before they take over. But here's the other new thing. I haven't shown you my baker's dozen babies yet. So there they are. Aren't they big? Yep. They're in their coop area there. And we'll probably start trying to integrate them in about a month or so. They're still not talking adult language yet. And one of the things that I've been told, and I followed that rule, is when you have babies that have grown up away from the flock, so to speak, they're not part of the flock, one of the best things that you want to do is wait till they start talking more adult talk. Because for some reason baby talk is not liked by the adult birds, and they would be more attacked at that point. So once they start talking more more adult language and not the chirp chirps of baby chicks, we'll start integrating them. But another thing is, you'll notice that these pens are side by side. My segregation coop is actually within the main run. So another bonus for the way I do it here is that these birds see each other all the time. It's not like the babies have grown up some other place and so they can be completely foreign to the main flock. But again, just getting them to mingle together as one flock can be a little tricky. This is a renewed garden space we have here on the homestead. Quite a few years ago, I grew some tomatoes for Baker's Creek. That's kind of a trial to see whether on my small homestead I could produce enough seeds for Baker Creek to be one of their seed growing vendors. And unfortunately, you know, I just don't have quite enough space to be able to grow the quantity of seed that they would need for me to be a valuable vendor for them. And I can completely understand. You know, you want to be able to get people who can grow a lot more seed than what I can grow here. It was a fun trial, but anyway, we just got this space going again. I wish you could see how loose and fertile this ground is. I mean, the dirt right now is almost like sand as far as the particle size, and it's so black from the animals being out here and working it. It's amazing compared to what this ground used to be. We do a lot of back to Eden style gardening around here to try to get the soil into some usable soil. And let me tell you, it has worked. This ground, we've been putting all sorts of organic matter on it for a long time. And then again, like I said, the chickens have been tilling it up, adding their own fertilizer. And this soil here is almost like black gold. It's wonderful stuff. Now I'm going to show you what is brand new. So if you've been following me along, you know that last fall, the landlord here had broke ground for me for this garden space because my main garden was going to be on rest for a year. And then the rains came, and they couldn't get the ground tilled up anymore because this area, we live in a low-lying area, so this ground was saturated and wasn't draining yet. So I went away last week and came back to this. The ground's completely been broken up, plowed, rototilled with a tractor rototiller, and I've actually started planting in it. So this is what is brand new, and it's hard to show you the scale of this thing. It's just huge. These are almost 20-foot rows, and it doesn't even go all the way across. I have these 20-foot rows here, and then I have a break for like a path, and then another I think there's 6 foot over on the other side. So this is, you know, almost 30 to 40 feet wide this way, and then it goes all the way past the new drainage field that way. You know, it's probably at least 100 feet or so long that way. So this thing's massive. You know, and you can see I've got 4 rows planted here, and they barely take up any room compared to what I have available to me. And I'm just trying to figure this out. We have a water hose that stays here because our water is a penny around. Our water comes from way over there. We don't have any water over on this side, so we have to use a long hose. But I've been working on getting those winter sown transplants transplanted. You can see I have some onions going on there. And I will do a video on how to transplant winter sown onions. So make sure to watch for that. I'm going to try to get it done today if the sun's not too bad, because I want to show you how you can easily transplant onions. But anyways, yeah, this is what is brand new here on the homestead. I'm so excited. I'm going to have to break up some ground again because you can see the grass is starting to grow again right there. And you can see this is all pasture land. This has been pasture land for at least a decade. And so it's very fertile because there's lots of crap in it. And then the landlord will come later. See if I can zoom in for you here. See those piles of logs there? That's actually going to be the new corner post So this is the current corner post here where the fence stops that goes around our property. He's actually going to extend the fence from here over, you know, to that corner, and then down past that area, and then back over, because there's an entrance point in there to get into this field. So he's going to come kind of at an angle right there, so you can still drive the tractor in, move the cows around and stuff like that. But yeah, this is what is brand new on the homestead, and I'm going to be so excited to be able to share this brand new journey with you this year. So if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button. I'd love to have you along, and you can follow along and see how we turn this huge empty space into something wonderful, lush, and full of fruits, vegetables, herbs, whatever I can get planted in here. Like I said, it's almost July, and so I'm kind of scratching my head on what I can get planted that'll still have time to grow. There's a lot of things. There really is a lot of things I can plant in here, and I still have plenty of time to grow before my final frost. But I have to go in and calculate my frost dates and see what they are. I might be able to plant some sweet corn in here. I'm going to try growing some dry corn, but I might be at the very end of being able to get that planted, because dry corn needs around 120 days between the time it germinates and the time that it produces the cob, and you know, it's a fully grown cob. So we'll see, but I want to make sure I share that journey with you. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Love to have you along. Alright, so that is the updates on what's been going on here on the homestead. I am week 4 from recovering from surgery. So I am so anxious to be able to get out, start planting, and start getting some other things going here on the homestead. So until next time, I hope that wherever you are wonderfully blessed. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.